Osama bin Laden is dead and GM is alive. That's the unofficial campaign slogan for Obama 2012. Meanwhile, GOP presidential hopeful Mitt Romney, who opposed the auto industry bailout, is touting, quote, more jobs, less debt, smaller government. So the president gave a speech to the United Auto Workers this week to celebrate the victory of more debt and bigger government in creating more jobs. Is Obama right this time? And will it sell with the voters? I'm PJTV's Scott Ott, and with me to put the Obama UAW speech in context, my colleagues Bill Whittle and Stephen Green. Well, men, the president was greeted by union members chanting 4 more years. Now, I'm not sure if they're talking about his re-election or they're predicting how long we've got until they need another bailout. But UAW boss Bob King reminded his members that this is not a political event, he said at the speech. But listen to the president sell his handling of the economy.
Over the last 2 years, our businesses have added about 3.7 million new jobs. Manufacturing is coming back for the first time since the 1990s. Companies are bringing jobs back from overseas. The economy is getting stronger. The recovery is speeding up. Now is time to keep our foot on the gas, not put on the brakes. And I'm not going to settle for a country where just a few do really well and everybody else is struggling to get by.
Now, Stephen, listen to that crowd. I mean, the working people love it. They love him. Are Americans ready to start singing Happy Days Are Here Again or join the cheers of 4 more years? And if not, why not?
Happy Days Are Here Again was a song written during and performed during the Great Depression. Happy days were not here again. The dole just got bigger. All right, poll out just this week. Americans disapprove of the GM and the Chrysler bailouts. The fact is, and Americans seem to understand this, GM would be in better shape today. Its workers would be in better shape today had it been through an honest bankruptcy, an honest Chapter 11, instead of this sham where the major owners are the UAW and the American taxpayer. GM has become this funnel. You pour taxpayer dollars into the big end, and the little end delivers them straight to the UAW while the White House gets to pull the strings. And that speech is about reminding GM workers who really calls the shots at their employer, and to rally them for November. Not a political speech.
Well, Bill Whittle, the president has spent about 3 years saying the economy is not his fault. But now his message is, despite what you may think, the economy is getting better, and that's because of me. Should Republicans just laugh in his face, or could this actually be a successful re-election message?
When people say the unemployment numbers are getting better, they're getting better because people aren't looking for work anymore. They're so disgusted now to work for so long, they stop applying for benefits. The unemployment numbers are determined by people seeking unemployment benefits. And when people give up completely on their lives, then those numbers go down. So they say, hey, we've added millions of jobs. This kind of, I don't even know where to begin with this. Let's just start with this. I hope every American who's watching this is enjoying your brand new Chevrolet that you bought and paid for out of your taxes that you're going to write in April. You've been paying for that brand new Chevrolet for several years now. The fact that it doesn't live in your garage and you don't get to drive it should not be considered a disadvantage in the new Obama economy. You own a Chevrolet, you just don't get to drive it. You've been paying for it for the last couple of years. The people who are cheering him to the rafters are the people who he handed General Motors to on a platter at the cost of the people who had legitimate positions ahead of them in bankruptcy court. So if it's going to come down to the United Auto Workers of America versus the rest of the country, we'll see how it goes. But let me just ask you this. When people talk about socialism versus capitalism, I always say, which way are the rafts going? Which way are the rafts going? Are people coming over the wall to go to capitalism, or are they going over the wall to go to communism? So if the United Auto Workers, and Detroit is the example of the new America, I defy any single American in this country to drive through the streets of Detroit and tell me if that's the kind of America they want to live in, and if that's what they want every city in this country to look like, because that's what's going to happen when this guy is finished.
Well, the UAW and its sister unions are, of course, the prototypes of the modern super PAC, which, of course, can't legally coordinate their efforts with any political campaign. So here's the president caught in the act of not coordinating his campaign with the UAW. Take a look.
Let me tell you, I keep on hearing these same folks talk about values all the time. You want to talk about values? Hard work, that's a value. Looking out for one another, that's a value. The idea that we're all in it together and I'm my brother's keeper and sister's keeper, that's a value. They're out there talking about you like you're some special interest that needs to be beaten down. Since when are hard-working men and women who are putting in a hard day's work every day, since when are they special interests? Since when is the idea that we look out for one another a bad thing?
Now, Stephen Green, can you imagine the UAW attack ad on whoever the GOP nominee is based on the script that the president just laid out there? And how does the GOP counter that?
Oh, yeah. I was about to say it wrote itself, but no, the White House wrote it. And President Obama gave it, but the GOP response, yeah. And, you know, Bill alluded to this pretty well, I think. Show him the sticker price of a Chevy Volt. It's $40,000, although if you actually want any options, it's going to go up to $43,000, $44,000, $45,000 very quickly for a tiny little cheap Econo box today. Then show them the $7,500 tax rebate that Obama wants to bump up to $10,000 that they can't even sell them at now. Then remind them who pays for that rebate. Who pays for that rebate? That's government motors forcing you to help pay for vehicles you don't want and that you can't afford. That's the GOP message. At least it better be.
To which I would add, by the way, just in passing, that that sticker on the window should be made out of asbestos or some other kind of fire retardant material, because if you're not, you've got big problems with that Volt.
Should be made out of the same material that the president's trousers should be made out of. Pants on fire. Bill, the president goes to the scriptural well again in this speech to say that we should be our brother's keeper. Now, isn't that not only a biblical principle, but also an American value?
You know, I used to think that this president was just too stupid to understand the Constitution. I just figured he just didn't get it. But then I realized, no, of course he gets it. He understands it, just doesn't like it. He's the guy who said that the Constitution is fundamentally flawed because it limits government. What a deep thinker we have. Thank God it's the smartest man who's ever sat in the White House. So let's talk about this brother's keeper thing. We should be each other's brother's keeper. The term brother's keeper, as it appears in the Bible, was told to me by my friend Jeremy Boring, who happens to be a pastor. And Jeremy said, the term, am I my brother's keeper, isn't that, you'll know better than I will, Scott, isn't that what Cain said? He's just murdered his brother Abel, and God says, Cain, where is thy brother's Abel? And Cain says, am I my brother's keeper? My brother's keeper is a term used by the first murderer in human history who bashed his brother's head in with a rock. Barack Obama is bashing America's economy in with a rock, and he's trying to tell us that being his brother's keeper, being your brother's keeper, is some sort of biblical injunction. It's not. We're supposed to be individuals who take care of ourselves. That God wants us to do what we are supposed to do and go out and take care of your own life, and you help your brother out if he's in trouble. That's not Caesar helping your brother, because it's not Caesar's brother, Scott. It's your brother. Your brother doesn't belong to Caesar. This is Caesar saying that Caesar should watch out for everybody's brothers. And the man is the biggest ideologue and liar I have ever seen in my life.
Well, if you're conservative and you're watching the president's UAW speech, you're saying, that's not true, or that's illogical, or that's ridiculous. But that's only because you think that policy should be framed with truth, that political discourse requires logic, and that legislating calls for sober judgment. Like I said, you're conservative. But if you're going to persuade your neighbors, you'll need to see this with their eyes and to hear it with their ears. More accurately, you need to feel it with their hearts. They feel powerless. They want to do something to help. Obama says he helped. He saved the auto industry. Obama kept factories open, saved jobs. Mitt Romney closed factories, fired workers. You know, they're both rich, but Obama feels bad because he's not paying more in taxes, because he wants to help the poor. Romney wants to pay less in taxes and dump the poor on the streets. This is the dominant narrative that swept Obama and his kind into office. And it won't be defeated by reason, logic, or even truth. It will be defeated by an emotional story, a true story that feels more real. For Bill Whittle, Stephen Green, and the entire Trifecta crew at PJTV.com, I'm Scott Ott.